Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Stephanie. This is the Let Me Introduce You series. The Let Me Introduce You series is a series where I talk with authors that I absolutely adore, that are my favorites, new to me authors, so you guys can get to know someone new, that I have learned about someone new. And today I have a very, very special interview for you guys, something completely different. So let me bring our guest on for today and introduce you to someone. Hi, Robyn. How are you? Can you introduce yourself to us?
I can. Thank you, first of all, so much for having me today. I am Robyn Crawford, the founder of ebooks, which is an online romance and women's fiction bookstore with a specialization in indie romance authors.
Oh my goodness, that is so amazing. So I'm just going to jump right in here. What inspired you to start this online bookstore?
It was an idea that I'd had for several years prior to the actual development. I started the development in 2018, and then we officially launched 2019. It was a little less than a year from the time I committed to doing this to be launched. But what really finally pushed me over was the banning of Kay Webster's The Wild on Amazon, August 2017. And the reaction of the romance reading community, it was a very divided community. Some who said, well, she should have known better than writing a book like that. And others who said, but I'm an adult, I can. Yes, exactly. And I think for me, what bothered me the most is that we were at the height of the Game of Thrones fever. And there was a very similar relationship in the wild. I don't want to give away too much, right. But there was a similar relationship in the wild that we were seeing. Those of us who've read the Game of Thrones books are familiar with, and then of course they spotlighted it was a major plot point in the television show, and yet those books are still being sold on Amazon, and the TV show is still being lauded as one of the best. Maybe not the finale, but the show overall is considered one of the best fantasy shows in recent times. And yet a book written by a woman in a reading genre predominantly female was removed from Amazon. And it felt, first of all, Kay Webster is one of my favorite just human beings on the planet, not just one of my favorite authors. She's just one of my favorite people. And I was really angry on her behalf. But it also felt very personal. It felt very personal that we had a major retailer telling me as a woman, no, little girl, you can't read that. Sit back and you know, we'll let you know what you can read. And I'm thinking, I'm a grown woman. I am well into my 40s. I don't need someone to dictate to me what I can and cannot read. So that was sort of the initial catalyst to me going, I'm going to do this. But a few months later, it got so much worse. More books were being banned. Reader reviews were being either blocked or just erased altogether from Amazon. Same thing with bloggers. And I thought, especially when it comes to bloggers, I'm a former blogger. My heart is with romance bloggers. This is God's work, in my opinion. You know, the work, right? The work that you guys are doing, you do it for free. You do it because it's a love and a passion. You do it in between taking care of your family and your work and trying to find downtime for yourself. And the fact that, again, a major retailer named after a forest decided that the work that you were doing and the reviews that you were putting up weren't good enough, or they just weren't going to allow it. The whole situation just became too much for me. And I was really mad, and I kept thinking somebody's going to do something, and nobody was doing anything. And I thought, screw it. It's going to be me. You know, maybe I'm the dumb one thinking I can do this and go up against those retailers, but I have to try. And that's what happened. I tried, and I am continuing to try. But that was really the birth of ebooks.
That's amazing. I love that whole entire story. So are you an author?
I am not. My philosophy is really those who can't write sell books. So I'm selling books. My degree, oddly enough, is in journalism with an emphasis on magazines, but that was many years ago when magazines were still a print thing.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I do love to write and I journal, but I don't think anything that I've written is publishable. So I really love supporting people who are brave enough though to take these ideas and these characters and give a voice to them and then release them into the world. And I just want to make sure they have a platform that continues to cheer them on and support their creativity and their individual businesses.
So, how do you decide which books are featured or brought over to Eden Books?
It's really up to the authors. As long as an author is within the romance or women's fiction categories, and they really are two separate categories. I think many times readers assume that women's fiction equates to romance and vice versa, and they really don't. There are very distinct differences between the two genres. But as long as an author writes in one of those two genres, they are welcome to join Eden. We really don't have many, if any. No, that's not true. We do have a few content rules that for legality purposes, but really it's up to the author. And so we carry everything from what's considered Christian romance, so it's a bit more faith-based romance stories, to some of the most taboo romance stories, I think, written and released in the last few years. So we really do carry a wide variety and books for every romance reader out there. But I don't discriminate. I do have conversations with authors if there's a concern, if their book has been banned by another retailer. There's often a conversation about why and what's in the content. Very, very early on with Eden, we had some controversy with Lucia Franco's Off Balance series because of the age of the characters. Ultimately, I allowed the books on our platform after I read them and realized that there was so much more to the story than just the relationship between the protagonists. It was very much a love story to gymnastics as well. And I know a lot of people disagreed with me on that. I actually lost some friends over allowing that book on my platform.
Oh,
but
wow.
At the end of the day, it was the right decision because it fit the mission of our bookstore. And I stand by that decision. But I did have a conversation with Miss Franco, who is just the loveliest woman. And we had different ideas, but ultimately, this was the story she told. This was the story that had been made public for 4 years prior to the banning on Amazon and the outroar of the reading community. So that was the story I thought needed to stick. She's since then made some adjustments and changes, but always welcome to have the original story available on Eden.
That's amazing. So you said that you read them. Is that part of your vetting process? I don't want to use the word vetting because not very many people know, but vetting, say like the word itself, vetting is somewhat controversial. So you read over, I guess, the documents or the books and things like that. Do you do that with all of the books or just the possibly controversial books that you have at Eden?
Yeah, in the beginning, I was actually reading almost at least one book by all of the authors who were joining the platform. But keep in mind that for the first 9 or 10 months, we only had about 150 authors, maybe 200 authors. So it was easy for me to be able to grab one of their books and read. At this point, we have well over 1,200 authors on the site. And just today alone, I have another 20 who have requested access to sell their books. So I'm going through various websites and social media sites to verify they are who they say they are and that they write what they say they write. So no, I don't get to read all of the books anymore. But if there is a controversial one, I do my best to read it. Recently, in the case of Double Edged by Nyla Kay, I have not had an opportunity yet to read that. But again, conversation with Nyla, who's also really wonderful. And we talked about it. I had readers who were unhappy with that decision to allow it to be on the platform. And when they reached out, I did respond to their concerns, and we had a really, I thought, good conversation. But I'm hoping to get to a point where I'll be able to really read not just all of the controversial books, but just all of the books that they've uploaded. But we have thousands of books now, so it's going to go a little harder.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. And you said that took about a year and a half to build up that?
It did. We launched at the very beginning of March 2019, and really it was in right around August, September of 2019 when Madison Fay joined the platform and brought those books over, shortly followed by Alexa Riley and their books, that we started to see an uptick in both users, readers, and authors. But yeah, the first, the first 8-9 months, I remember thinking, what have I done? I've spent a lot of money, and I spent a lot of hours building the website, and then nobody was using it. And I just thought, oh goodness, but instinct and a voice in my head, maybe it was my own character telling me to toe the line. And so that's what I did and what I continue to do, because I think a platform like Eden, a bookstore like this, is really, really needed in our community. Because these are my books. These books have been a big part of my life for the last, 12, 13 years especially. They've gotten me through some of the hardest moments of my life. I was reading romance after losing my dad and my grandmother, because I needed that hope. I needed to know that I could get to the end of something and there was a light. Yeah. And after a car accident in 2015, I turned to romance while I was healing. So these books mean something to me. These authors, their stories, this community, it means so much to me that I want to make sure that we have a bookstore that recognizes the community for its greatness, and is really here to support to support us.
I love that mission. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So do you only carry ebooks, or are readers able to obtain physical books through your website as well?
Yes. So we primarily carry ebooks, but we do have paperbacks, and we are slowly reworking our audiobook offerings. I know we've had some issues with our audiobooks, but we are working to offer books in all 3 formats. I personally am an audiobook reader, so selfishly, I really want to get those audiobooks up in a better place. But definitely paperbacks. We have a good number of paperbacks now, and we're going to be adding more. But ebooks are still sort of king, if you will, or queen, on our site. Yeah.
So for the possible authors out there that are watching this, that are indie or traditional, do you only carry indie books, or do you carry traditional books?
So right now we only have indie authors with indie books, but we are absolutely open to traditionally published authors and any of the major publishing houses who would want to make their books available through Eden. It's really about supporting romance in our community fully. So while our primary emphasis is on supporting indie authors, we're sort of a business in the business of supporting businesses. Okay. We definitely welcome traditionally published authors if they're interested, and they just would need to reach out to me and we would go from there.
So how would an indie author go about doing that? Is there a link on the website, or how would they contact you? walk me through just a little bit. You don't have to go through all the details, but just a little bit for the viewers that may be authors and looking to figure out how to get their romances out there for the public to read. How would they go about doing that?
Sure. So on the website, toward on the homepage, in the footer section, we have a whole section that's information for authors. We also have a section there for readers, which will help them locate previously purchased books, or how do they add a book to their Kindle e-reader and that sort of thing. But for authors, we have a very specific section in our footer. And we have a Join Eden link so that they would click on that link and create an account. At the time they create their account, they can ask to become a seller on our site. And that sends a prompt to me on the back end that we have someone interested in uploading books and becoming an Eden author. And then I go to work confirming who they are and their books and stories. Again, just really making sure that the books that are coming on are within the romance or women's fiction genres, because I've had a number of wonderful authors who have applied to sell, but they really write mystery that has some romance in it, or sci-fi that has some romance. But as you and I know, you can write in other genres and have a romance. It doesn't make it a romance. So
that's correct.
So because of that, I do have to really make sure that the authors are within our genre and that these books are for our community. And then once I know that, I approve them, they receive an email, and they can start uploading their books.
So is there a storefront in the works, or are you going to strictly stay as an ebook seller, or in the other form, on the online, on a website? That's what I'm trying to say.
I do go back and forth with that idea. I think the Ripped Bodice in LA is just, it's such a magnificent store. I've not had the pleasure myself of going, but I know many who have, and they just are so wowed. And then, of course, the Bookworm Box in Texas, run by Colleen Hoover, where you can purchase books. So I don't know. I sort of feel like I just really want to encourage readers to, make these treks to these incredible bookstores elsewhere and get a little vacation in, rather than create a storefront for myself. I also live in a college town, which I have to say, college readers are wonderful, and it's actually our faculty a lot of our faculty read romance, as I've learned, because I work at the University of Florida, and I've had the great honor of getting to lecture to students in the College of Business, and I'm always surprised at the number of either students or faculty who approach me to say, I love romance. And I was in one session and somebody said, "Oh, but the rabbi's wife writes romance." And I said, "She does." And they're very smart romance books, and they're wonderful. And so we have a great romance space here in Gainesville, but I think we're still too small of a community for me to want to open a storefront here. So then it becomes where to open it that would be accessible for me. And I'm torn between Orlando and Atlanta if I ever decide to move forward in that vein. But right now, we're able to reach readers all over the world. Our authors are, again, global. So I really like our sort of international interaction that we have through the website. And we have some huge changes in store. So we are in a complete redesign right now. I actually just shared the site with our authors in our Facebook group, and their reaction was beyond anything I could have hoped for. They're so pleased with the new design and the new look. And we have some changes coming to our URL. So some really big things in store in the next, coming months, really, that I think focusing still on the online bookstore is the right way to go for now, but never say never to a storefront.
That's amazing. So we are in the midst of semi opening back up and going to book signings and author events and everything like that. When can we see Eden at these conferences and book signings and things like that? Or do you have any in the works coming up soon?
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited. So we actually attended our first book signing event this past February in Nashville with Music City with the Bells, which was just spectacular. It was so cold for a Florida girl, but it was fantastic. I saw snow in
Oh, that's right.
February in
I think there was
Tennessee.
this. I think there was a storm that came through that weekend
There
because
was, but it,
I think I was thinking about coming, but then I was like, oh, there's supposed to be a storm, and I'm
yeah,
not trying to drive in nobody's snow. Yes.
no, and it was like this combination of snow and sleet, and I was just like, I've never, well, I shouldn't say never. It's been years since I've seen snow. So, um, but it was wonderful. And the organizers, the Southern Bells, just always put on such a great event. So I am actually heading to Holidays with the Bells next February in Dallas. So I'm excited about that. But before then, I will be in Kentucky with the authors in the Bluegrass signing event at the end of September, beginning of October. I'm actually getting to go to readers on the river. Also in Kentucky the weekend before. I'm attending that just as a reader, but the fact that I was able to score tickets is still mind blowing to me.
Oh yeah.
So I'm so excited.
Mhm.
And then we have the Hard Rock in Tulsa next year, and I believe that's in April. And those are the three that are absolutely confirmed for now.
That's awesome. And is that information going to be located on the website and everything like that?
Yes, we will. We'll share that on our website. We're also sharing that in our newsletters and on our social media, so that people not only just know that about the events and where to find us, but hopefully they can take a look. And if tickets are still available, they can grab a ticket and come out and meet some of their favorite authors. I know for me, Tiffany Reese and Amy Harmon are two of my absolute favorite authors,
They
and they
are
are
so pleasant and
oh,
amazing. Oh, I
I
love them.
cannot wait to meet them. And they are both going to be at Authors on the Bluegrass. And I am just, I'm thrilled. Tiffany Reese in particular, I just think the woman doesn't know how to write a bad book. So
Right?
I am so excited to meet her here in the next couple of months. But yeah, so we're going to have that, and well, we do have a newsletter that goes out twice weekly. On Wednesdays, we highlight free books available on the site, um, which I love because who doesn't like a free book?
Right?
And then we send out a newsletter on Saturday, and that highlights all of the sales, new releases, pre orders, or just really books that authors and my team here at Eden want readers to know about. So, and we have all of that information and all the links available on our website. So they can definitely sign up and stay in touch with us that way. Or they can sign up to receive text messages so that they know when new books have dropped or pre orders are available. So, all sorts of ways to stay in touch with us here at Eden.
Alrighty. So normally I am talking to authors and I'm asking them to talk about some of their babies. But I'm going to have you give me your 5 favorite authors that you feature at Eden.
Oh, goodness. My five. Oh, gosh.
I'm going to be nice and give you 5. Normally I ask for
Oh,
1, but we're
oh,
going to give you 5.
well, thank you. I will definitely have to say Kay Webster, because she is the muse behind Eden Books, and just really, really excited to have her. She actually has a pre-order out that just came out this week for a book that she's releasing in October. So that's going to be amazing. Oh gosh, 5. Sierra Simone. She is relatively new to our site, but again, she's one of my absolute all-time favorite authors. I've read all of her books, and I'm beyond thrilled and honored that she is a part of the Eden family. Lynn Burke. Oh my goodness. Lynn Burke is this incredible Northeastern based writer, and has some of the best gay romance books I've read out on the market, and they're wonderful. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to like
I
five.
think that's three. I think that's
Okay,
three. Two more. Two more for
two
me.
more. Oh my goodness. Well, I would have to definitely say Lucia Franco. Again, I read all of her books, and we don't have all of her books on our platform, but we do have Hush Hush, and of course the Off Balance series. And I think she's just her ability to really pull a reader into this story is magnificent. And then, Alexa Riley, because they write just fun romance. I think the moment you read an Alexa Riley book from the start to the finish, they're designed to be read in a short period of time. So they are sort of what we call a quick consumable. But gosh, they just make you happy for that entire time you're reading. It's just fun, over the top, sometimes just campy and a little ridiculous in the best way possible. And I'm always excited when they reach out and say, "Hey, we have a new book." A lot of times I get to read it before everyone else, so that's really fun.
Lucky.
I know, right? Just a small perk, but my goodness, Melissa and Leah just are two of the nicest women. Have been incredibly supportive of Eden, and their books just make you happy. And I think more and more in the age that we're living in, we need a couple of hours of just happy, and they never fail to deliver. So definitely Alexa Riley.
Awesome. So I was wondering, how do you balance keeping diverse and own voices reading or books coming in and featuring them?
So that is such an important part of our mission, is to make sure that BIPOC authors and authors within the LGBTQ community, or stories that take place in these communities, have a home here. And so we do our very best to make sure that we are highlighting these authors and their books, whether that's through our social media, definitely in our newsletter. I think anyone who's really seen our newsletters, especially our Saturday newsletters, they know that they can almost be guaranteed every Saturday they're going to see a book by an author of color, a book within the LGBTQ community, as well as then maybe a new release or just a book that we want folks to know. But we make sure that we are really highlighting these books and these authors, because representation matters. I once said to someone, it took me a long time to realize when I was reading a book that there wasn't a Black character in the book, because there's always a character I identify with. And so I immediately see myself as that character. But when I recognized that was sort of how I was interacting, and that is not necessarily how the book is written, I started questioning that. And I remember just asking the simple question, where are the Black romance authors? And I got back Bev Johnson, one name. And I thought, there has to be more. And I'm so pleased to say, yes, there are more. And we have wonderful Asian American authors and wonderful. I'm a huge fan of gay romance, and we carry a wonderful selection of gay and lesbian romance and erotica on Eden Books. And just to be able to have these stories it's so important, because I think finally a good portion of our reader base are saying, oh, I see me. That's me in this story. I'm actually reading or listening to one now. If you don't let me pull it up. Yeah. She's a new to me author, and it's just brilliant. Her name is Danielle Jackson, and it's called The Accidental Pinup. And her main character is Black, and there is another side character, a gentleman who, and the main character is also a plus size woman. So we have a beautiful, Black, smart, plus size woman. And this is the first book I read where another Black character was described as being a deep, dark skinned man. He wasn't milk chocolate or dark chocolate or a devil's food cake or whatever.
Right.
I always am like, okay, why are we always equated with food. What is that about? It was just this lovely description. And I have to tell you, this book is so much fun and I'm loving it so much. And I'm thrilled to have met her, at least in this format. And I'm also a huge fan of this amazing writer, Emma Jean. She's known a lot for her YA books.
Okay.
She released a book called Tokyo Ever After, and then its sequel, which of course right now I can't remember the name of the sequel, but she has a book releasing in just a few weeks called Mika in Real Life, and it's sort of more of an adult romance. It's a slow burn romance, and it's just incredible. And she truly is giving us an experience about what it's like to be an American woman, but have cultural influences from your family and your parents, which I can attest to, and I know what that's like, and how that impacts how you're raised and how you see yourself and the values that you carry and your perspective on the world. It's just a brilliant book, and I'm so excited for it to be coming out. And I hope, I really hope so many people will pick it up. It's releasing in early August, I believe, and it's just an incredible read.
That's amazing. On that note, let's continue on with the fun. Robyn gave me her favorite number, and I have picked some random questions to ask her. So hopefully they don't go too deep, but they're just fun questions. So first one up is, if you had to delete all but 3 apps from your smartphone, which ones would you keep?
Oh, my Libro FM, because that's my audiobook account. So I would keep my Eden Books app because, well, it's my Eden Books app. And I would have to keep chewy.com because that's how I get the food for the animals. So I think those are the 3 that I would keep.
Those are great picks. Great picks. Reading and keeping the animals alive.
You know, that's my main goal.
Okay. Would you rather be able to erase people's memory or predict their future?
Oh, that's such a good question.
Yeah.
I think I would rather be able to erase their memory. I think if there's something that someone has done and they carry any sort of regret or shame, I'd somehow like to erase their memory enough that they don't carry those emotions, but maybe don't repeat whatever it was that they did to put them there. So if they can retain the memory of the lesson, but not the memory of the feeling, I'd like to do that. And the
trauma, maybe.
Yeah, I would like to do that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, if you predict people's future, they could do things and it could change it. So that probably wouldn't work very well. Now, would it?
No. And I am all about free choice and people making their own decisions. So I would not want to know anything about their future so that I don't inadvertently change it in any way or cause any sort of changes. So influence that. So
yes, definitely. I agree with you on that one. And our final question is, what is the dumbest way you've been injured? Have you been injured?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think the one that it was both the most upsetting and the most embarrassing. I was running a half K, so 13.1 miles at Walt Disney World, doing a Disney run. It was the very first Star Wars run back in 2017. And I was in a sort of a pack of runners and we were really close together, and a runner behind me stepped forward and we were off sync. So he ended up tripping into me. And I just remembered thinking, don't fall, because if you do, you're going to take out a whole slew of other runners. So I managed to go down just enough, but twisted my entire body. And this happened at mile 4. So I still had a ways to go before I finished, but I finished that race. I didn't obviously do it as quickly as I would have liked, but I still did it in about 3 hours. My goal was actually 2, and I was on target to do that, but I did it in 3. And but yeah, I just felt so stupid because I I knew better than to sort of get grouped in with a bunch of runners like that, and I allowed it to happen. So I felt pretty stupid. I don't know if anybody else would consider that overly stupid, but I am notorious for walking into walls and tripping over my. I'm a hobbit. I'm like 5'3" in height, but I have a size
Hey, we're
10.
not hobbits. We're just
but
we're vertically challenged. It's okay.
We are vertically challenged, but I have a size 10 foot. So I am very hobbit-like. I also believe in frequent meals. And so it's just not uncommon that I trip over my own 2 feet because they're ginormous. And so I do trip frequently because I'm a bit of a klutz. So yeah, but that run is the one that still makes me kind of cringe when I think about it.
Well, Robyn, thank you for letting us into the whole process of Eden Books and giving us somewhere as an alternative to go and get these romance books. I really, really, really hope that this gives you some more traffic, because you're doing God's work. I mean, I don't even believe in God, but you're doing God's work.
Well, the bookstore is sort of I have a very long, complicated faith, and Eden Books is really a play on the Garden of Eden. And early on, one of our taglines was that Eve got robbed. Had the stupid snake just left her alone to read, perhaps the apple never would have been in play. But so yeah, I do. I have. It's a kind of a cheeky play on it, my own personal faith base. So I get it. I totally get it.
Oh my goodness. It was so nice chatting with you, and I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. I just, for everything that you do and for the way you highlight and spotlight authors and get them out there. It's just it's so appreciated by all of us in the community. So thank you for what you're doing for us too.
Alrighty, so as I said, that was Robyn from Eden Books, and I will have the link for Eden Books down in the description box so you guys can go check out this online store. It's an alternative. It's amazing. I get quite a few books from there that I don't get from the Big Bad because they're banned there. So I really appreciate all that she is doing, and I hope that you guys will take advantage of that and check out Eden Books as well. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Also, there is a feedback form down in the description box so you guys can help me improve my channel. My PayPal and my Patreon are down in, and all my other social links are in the description box as well. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in another video.